Ebusheni komo awo chani so ha AG politics avenue. Ani di mnya hubrak simu. Best of se unia yembo engura eye political highways nim na eje dema enye asem koto akra. Na Chairman Wontumi aso eye na yesan egbawurai. Unia sen yedi kan ka kire mo no ni case no so far no eye miensa na ohwa de ede no ko efiase 20 years no ene ye saman boy case no eno ene ye twama no na Tano Numeri forest no ene ofri eye insa won prison ebegina adaka mu ene a wonua ensem epipie ho no yagimre na yedi bi exumwo na eno ena ya project atu screen so edi ama no wose Wontumi makes court appearance in Tano Numeri forest illegal mining case 2 days after being sentenced to 20 years in the Saman Boy case. Now, Mr. said details of the story nankasa no ene ensema epie mu ewo court no onia yembo enwura joy 99.7 FM so abra mu agemre na omudide in-depth story nankasa based on what transpired ewo court ho ede exumye enedue channel mom say how say AG politics avenue yembo enwura ensemfoni.
Rice Producers and Processors Association of Ghana. Now, under heavy police escort or prison escort, jailed NPP Ashanti Regional Chairman Bernard Enchibo, also known as Chairman Wontumi, made his first appearance in court from custody, arriving at the Accra High Court in a prison bus after spending 2 nights behind bars. He is currently serving a 20-year sentence in the Summer Boy illegal mining case and is in court today to open his defense in a separate illegal mining case, this time in the Tano Numeri forest. Let's go live to the Accra High Court and speak to our legal affairs correspondent, Fatal Bayaga. Fatal, what was Chairman Wontumi's demeanor like when he made appearance in court?
Chairman Wontumi grain normally and some. In fact, for the first time, Chairman Wontumi was very calm and quiet. In fact, he did not have the opportunity to exhibit his own recent trademark clock it before he goes into the courtroom. So Wontumi was basically calm and cold. He, listened to that short proceedings in specialized court one.
How did the process go though?
Basically, today was for the continuation of the cross-examination of the third prosecution witness and the last prosecution witness as far as this particular case was concerned. But what we picked up from the courtroom is that, and the Akudu, the lead counsel for Chairman Wontumi, wrote a letter to the court that he wouldn't be available for the proceedings today. And based on that, the trial judge, would be Aite, then adjourn the proceedings to the 31st of July, where the parties will be back in court again for the cross-examination to continue.
Also, former Chief Executive Officer of the National Buffer Stock Company, Hanan Wahab, was in court seeking to have his charge sheet struck out. Was it successful?
Basically, according to Hanan's lead lawyer, Godfrey Deboadami, this charge sheet is fatally defective. In fact, he says that it's in contravention of his client's right to fair trial, among other things, and he is seeking that this charge sheet be struck out. The Deputy Attorney General was also in court. He argued that this charge sheet is very clear, it's understandable and all of that, and is asking the court to dismiss the motion. The trial judge, Francis Apanga Chibonga, listened to the arguments to make them.
Thank you very much, Fatal Baraga. We apologize for that poor quality of sound. Now, the lead counsel for Chairman Wontumi, Samuel Atacha, says the defense team has identified more than 20 grounds of appeal against his client's conviction, arguing that the trial was marred by fundamental constitutional and illegal errors. On Top Story on Tuesday, Mr. Atacha said one of the key issues the defense will raise in the trial judge's decision not to refer constitutional questions to the Supreme Court for interpretation before delivering judgment.
Well, so far we've assembled no less than 20 grounds of appeal. The first one is the constitutional imperative that her ladyship was bound to, make a referral to the Supreme Court for the determination of critical issues, in terms of Article 130 and then Article 1911, then Section 14.1, 59, 99 2B, and Section 3 of the Minerals and Mining Act as amended by Act 995. Let me make it very clear. Even the very authority that she cited in the judgment is that where rival meanings are placed on the Constitution by the parties. Rival meanings. So we said the manner of the charges and the way it's been couched, sins against Article 1911, and therefore the Supreme Court should interpret it.
Well, still on Chairman Wontumi's legal issues, the Deputy Attorney General, Justice Sremsai, has disclosed that the office has rejected a plea bargaining proposal submitted by lawyers representing Mr. Wontumi in relation to criminal charges on a loan facility he obtained from the Ghana Export-Import Bank. Now, according to Dr. Sremsai, although discussions between the prosecution and the defense has commenced under a plea bargaining process, the proposal put forward by Mr. Wontumi's team failed to meet the expectations of the state. He spoke in an interview with Accra-based TV3.
In our opinion, they've not satisfied us, so we intend to reject it. In fact, we have in our minds rejected it, just that we've not had a meeting with them to inform them of our rejection. So it's like any bargaining. You give, you take. So we were supposed to meet yesterday, but of course what happened yesterday couldn't allow the meeting. And we are still trying to get that meeting done before we go back to court next week.
You're still listening to the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. We'll take a break. While we return, Ghana's basic school curriculum set for a major overhaul, with computing, coding and ethics becoming core subjects and the sweeping education reforms. Also, the revised curriculum restores Ghanaian languages as the main medium of instruction from kindergarten through the basic level. We have details coming up. With skills for the future. The National Council for Curriculum Assessment, NACA, says a review of the current curriculum exposed weaknesses in mathematics, Ghanaian languages and other core subjects. Let's listen to Executive Secretary of NACA, Professor Samuel Ofori-Bekwin.
We did a curriculum mapping to identify what we have to do. So, Honourable Minister, basically 4 major structural changes have been brought into this review curriculum. One is the consolidation of civic learning and competencies. It used to be across many subjects, but we're looking at, because we didn't want to introduce any new subject to overload the students, we're looking at a subject that can hold all these competencies, being the knowledge, the attitudes, the values, and then the skills that learners need to become effective civic participants in the Ghanaian economy.
Let's go on the phone line, speak to my colleague Stephen Mensah, who is live at the Education Ministry. So, Stephen, one of the key changes is the introduction of computing and coding.
Yes, Mame. So the National Council for Curriculum Assessment, NACA, says the decision follows a comprehensive review of the current curriculum, which identified gaps not only in mathematics, but also in the skills learners need for today's digital economy. And the the Director General for NACA, Professor Samuel Bekwin, says introducing computing and coding at the basic levels intended to equip pupils with digital literacy, problem solving and critical skills from an early age, ensuring that they are better prepared for the technology-driven economy.
Well, the curriculum also provides an opportunity for interested students to study Chinese as an additional foreign language, and the Confucius Institute expected to pilot the program in 10 schools.
Yes, Mami, under the revised curriculum, students who are interested will be able to apply and study Chinese as an additional foreign language, and this is optional. And the curriculum also makes provision for the teaching and learning of Arabic. And the Professor Samuel Kaba says this is part of government's effort to making language more inclusive and education more inclusive. We can listen to him.
We're also forward-looking, Honourable, looking into the future. The other day it came out clearly that now Ghana's major trading partner is China. Many people go to China to do all kinds of trade and all those things. And so we felt that if we are to give opportunity, it's not compulsory, but an option for people who want to learn Chinese. would that be okay? We did that because already the Confucius Center in Cape Coast had taken the lead, had come to us and had collaborated with us to work on some kind of curriculum for the basic school. So we thought that it would be important to bring that on board and also propose it to government as an additional foreign language.
Now, President John Mahama has received the procurement report for the commencement of consultancy services and feasibility studies for the proposed Green Digital City. The ambitious project forms part of government's long-term plan to develop a new city stretching from the Accra Plains into parts of the Volta and Eastern regions to reduce pressure on the capital, Accra. At a meeting with the Greater Accra Regional House of Chiefs, President Mahama said that once completed, the new city will accommodate some government ministries, departments and agencies. Presidential Affairs correspondent Maxwell Agbagba reports.
The delegation from the Greater Accra Regional House of Chiefs was led by its president, King Professor Odaifu Welenti III. Also present were the Gamanche and other prominent traditional leaders from across the region. Addressing President Mahama, the president of the Greater Accra Regional House of Chiefs advocated the extension of a priority quota for qualified indigents and recruitment into state institutions.
While we fully support a merit-based and inclusive employment process, we humbly request that the extension of a modest priority quota for qualified locals through the various state institutions could help address feelings of exclusion within the Greater Accra region. Extending this same principle to all regions could foster greater harmony and reduce potential tensions between indigenous communities and strangers or foreign dwellers.
Responding, President Mahama called on traditional leaders to partner with government in tackling perennial flooding in the Greater Accra region.
I therefore appeal to Numeri and Numeri not to permit or support the allocation of lands in waterways, on wetlands, drainage reserves, buffer zones, or other flood-prone areas.
The president also announced that he has received the procurement report for the commencement of consultancy services and feasibility studies for the proposed Green Digital City.
As a long-term measure to ease the pressure on the capital city, Accra, government is advancing the design and feasibility study for establishment of a new city that will encompass land stretching from the Accra Plains towards parts of the Volta and Eastern regions.
Well, let's go on the phone line, speak to Presidential Affairs correspondent Maxwell. Maxwell, President Mahama is speaking at the AU Health Summit. Briefly, what's he been saying?
Well, there's been a lot of talk about accelerating the African Union roadmap to 2020, which is a continent strategic framework for achieving health sovereignty and universal health coverage by 2030. And President Mahama said African countries should rely more on their own money to fund healthcare instead of depending heavily on foreign donors. He says government should protect health budgets even during economic challenges. He says countries should explore new ways of raising money for healthcare, such as health levies, public-private partnerships, or dedicated health funds. He said health should not be left to health ministries alone. Finance ministers, he says, must be directly
impactful assessment of what that would mean for us going forward.
Also, Deputy Director of Operations at the Presidency, Mustafa Ogbande, says the review must focus more on government expenditure plans.
It's a hardline approach. It's a very uncomfortable one. Bills are not being paid. Contractors, most of them are not getting their money. They are, what they call front loading of expenditure and all sort of things. This is done so that you and I will not feel the impact of the mismanagement. You should expect a real briefing of the state of economy, because President Mahama's government is not a hype government. It's not a government that will come and give you information that doesn't reflect the reality. The reality is that things are hard, things are tough. We find ourselves in difficult times.
Minister. Meanwhile, Deputy Ranking Member on the Finance Committee in Parliament, Dr. Stephen Omo, says his side in Parliament will do everything to keep government in check.
What this government has done that we need to also appreciate is that they've been able to kind of maintain the restoration that we had gotten after we went into crisis. what we are present on the stabilized economy, because it has not yet reflected terms of tangibility or tangible. I.e., you look at even in the area of infrastructure, the 24-hour economy still remains an embryonic stage policy. You talk about big push, yes, and I'm not blaming the government because they are all at the embryonic stage. So we are yet to see. And another thing is stabilization. Stabilization doesn't mean resilience. So we need to be also very sure what the budget review is bringing us for us to be very sure of resilience. You know, one of our core functions is scrutinize government policy, ensure that we put government on course to conform to the PFM Act, and then also make sure that our operational rules and then our fiscal anchors when it comes to debt sustainability anchors and then our even targets in these areas, our primary balance target and then our debt sustainability targets and other things are conformed. So Finance Committee, we're going to be very, very, very resolute. We're going to make sure that we become watchdogs and make sure that the government does the right thing.
Dr. Stephen Amoah is Deputy Ranking on the Finance Committee in Parliament. Let's go on Zoom and speak to spokesperson for the Rice Producers and Processors Association of Ghana, Dr. Charles Nyaba, for more on industry reaction. Dr. Nyaba, so your members are some of the most affected in terms of food glut situation. What do you expect to hear from the Finance Minister tomorrow?
Thank you so much. I think farmers act as producers and at the same time consumers. So if you want to look at the angle of consumers' part, we can say we have also benefited from the economic gains. But in terms of, speaking as a producer, I think we are the worst hit in terms of these economic changes that we are experiencing. If you go to all the farming communities from the south to the north, as we speak now, last year, maize and rice, farmers are still holding on. They couldn't sell. Yet, they have to go into produce for the new year. If you look at the inputs that they need to produce, like fertilizers, mechanization services, agrochemicals, labor, everything is on the higher side.
All right. So what then are the solutions you're expecting the Finance Minister to give tomorrow?
Yeah, so we're looking at a situation where the Finance Minister will create an opportunity for farmers to be able to market whatever they produce. You know, there was an announcement of a government allocating 200 million Ghana cedis for purchase of rice and maize. Even though some purchases are being done, some contractors are being engaged to buy these commodities from the farmer, but it's highly insignificant. What they are buying is less than 1% of.
We ain't some other team course or channel so. Mama was so Jim Redaction so bad in the Numeri. Unia, the best aso.